Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel today. This is Paul from Kentucky Tacklebox. And today I want to profile a brand new lure that I just picked up, and I'm not really actually sure how I'm going to rig it yet, but I want to take a look and like to kind of show everybody what it is. And I was down in Nashville a couple days ago, and I happened to stop at the Bass Pro Shops while I was down there, and I just was browsing around through the store to see what they had lure-wise, and I came across something I hadn't seen before. And it's a lure made by a company called Strike King, and it's called the Sexy Bug, and it's in this particular one comes in the green pumpkin. So at first I thought these were just individual sections here, you know, with the little legs coming off, kind of like a creature bait. But then when I got looking a little closer, and I'll pull one out to show you what they look like, it's actually two sections together. So to pull one out, this is how they look. They're actually two separate sections attached. They have a small kind of piece in the middle here to attach them. And I'm not sure I'd like to fish it this particular way. I'm just going to cut this right in half right now. So let me snip it. So now we've got two pieces. Okay. And to me, this makes more sense. This looks like it could be like a beetle or some sort of an insect or something. And that's how I'm going to try to rig it. So let me set one in water because I don't know if this bait sinks or floats. And I have a little plastic thing in water here. So let's see what happens. Okay. And I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not, but it actually does float in the water. So for it to be worked in the water, if I want to kind of get it near the bottom of the water column, I'm going to have to add some weight to it. So depending on how I rig it, I'm going to have to do something like that. So what I have here, let me show you what I've laid out here. I've laid out a few different style hooks so I can kind of figure out which might work best for how I want to rig this. So starting at the top, this is off of a hook with a weed guard off a swim jig that I had taken apart a while back. And then below that, I've got a standard jig head, and then I've got a couple of Ned heads in different sizes. That's a little heavier weight, but with a shorter shank hook. And here's a lighter weight Ned head with a longer hook. And then over here, I have a couple of EWG hooks that also have some weight added on. The one that has the weight up near where the line tie is, and then another one where the weight is on the shank of the hook. So honestly, I'll play around with it and kind of figure out which one is going to give me the best type of idea. And what I may do too, since I've snipped these into two pieces, so now I've got two separate segments, what I may just do is double them up on like a longer shank hook, like something like this Ned. That's kind of what I'm thinking about maybe doing to start with, because if I do it like that, and I'll thread one on just to see how it's going to look here. What my thought is it may kind of mimic something like a centipede bait, or perhaps like a Hellgrammite, doing it like this if I put two separate segments on there, because the overall length is going to be similar in size to that. So I've got one on there. Let me see if I can rig the other one up here as well. But like I say, there's a lot of different ways this bait can probably be rigged. And like I say, I'm going to have to play around with it and experiment with it, because for me, it's a brand new one I haven't really used before. So let me see how that's going to look there. So I've got both of the segments there, and I didn't do a very good job lining them up. They're kind of a little cockeyed there. Let me pull these back off here, see if I can do a better job lining them up. Yeah. Actually, you know what? It might be better to snip the end of this where the segment was combined to flush it off a little bit, because that's kind of following the hook a little bit. Trim that down a little bit there, and same at this end here. The little tab that was kind of linking the two segments together, that's kind of not making it easier to hook it up. All right, so let's try this again. But yeah, the idea is just kind of experimenting when you come across a new bait like this, and playing around with it with different types of ideas will give you, you know, an idea how it's going to work or how it's going to look in the water. And really, what you're doing is you're looking for a presentation. And in my case, I want this to kind of come across looking like a creature bait to something, you know, a bass swimming around the water that's going to like it. And I might even be able to get by with just a small segment. That might be enough to kind of give it the look of like a little bit of a crayfish look, almost, really, with the tentacles sticking off, because it looks like the back legs of a crayfish when it's rigged like this. And actually, that might not be a bad way to go with just the one segment instead of two. And let me see if I can maybe rig up one of these on top of like something like an EWG hook that's a little wider, with a wider gap here. Well, actually, I'll use this one that has the weight on it at the near the line tie. Let me see if I can get that hooked up on there, just like so. And the nice thing is these segments are so small, you don't have to worry about where to poke it through the body. You just run the whole thing through the hook to kind of get it around and through, which I kind of like that about it as well. No trying to guess to get it just right the way you want it looking. Okay, and then here's how this one is looked. It has a little bit of a different look. It has kind of that offset weight on the top because it has that little bit of an offset there in the hook. But that's not bad either. I just provided a selection of hooks to kind of look at it and kind of try to figure out what might be the best way to go. And really, experimentation is kind of half the fun of fishing anyways. You just play around with it until you find a rigging method that you like, because there's really, when it comes to soft plastics, there are no hard and fast rules. It's just whatever works well for you. And anything that gives you something that mimics the look of a creature bait, if that's what you're going for, and that's kind of what I am in this case, I think is going to be hopefully something that will give you plenty of success when you're out on the water. But as always, thanks again for watching the channel, and get outdoors when you can. It's a great place to be. We'll see you next time.